And a very good Monday evening. Welcome into Time Out here on TVNB. Coming up in the next 30 minutes, St. John Flames dial 0 over the weekend. The hurting continues for the Habs, and the great one will take his chair at the Hockey Shrine in Toronto later this evening. All that and a whole lot more coming up, so don't go far. Good Monday evening. Welcome into Time Out here on TVNB. Jim Hennessy alongside Barry Johnston. Haven't been in the chair in a while. Nice to have you back.
Well, busy schedule.
Exactly.
Good to be here.
Now going to school, getting all that good stuff, getting ready for Christmas. We won't get into that.
No.
Nice to have you tuned in. Certainly hope you're enjoying this, late spring we're having here in November. We certainly hope the weather continues, and we hope that the Flames can turn things around. Rough weekend for the Flames. Friday night, a 7-4 loss to the Cincinnati Mighty Ducks. A little better showing on Saturday. They come out, tie things up at 4, end up on the short end of the stick on kind of a fluke play, I'd say. Came off Giguère and bounced back into the net. So 5-4 overtime loss. They'll hit the road again this weekend. Wednesday night they're in Providence. And then, of course, they'll be home on Saturday night, a game that will be broadcast on TVNB as they take on the Quebec Citadels, the former Fredericton Canadians, and the way Montreal's hurting up top, what look like the Montreal Canadiens, because so many call-ups have gone on over the past couple of months. But we'll talk about the Flames. Friday night, I guess, is the best place to start. Jean-Sébastien Giguère, just a horrific start between the pipes. Rick Vaive pulls him, 2 goals on 3 shots. Certainly didn't look sharp, and everything else looks to be in place for the Flames. The offense is there. The defense might need a little more work, but the goaltending has just not been there when they've needed it so far coming down the stretch.
Well, Ty Garner hasn't been able to step in and fulfill the role that he's supposed to fulfill as a backup. And Giguère, I don't know what's on his mind right now. I think a lot of coaches would like to get inside of a goaltender's head and see what goes on in a game situation. But I think he's putting too much pressure on himself to try and do better. I think he knows with the expansion coming up, maybe he'll get picked up there somewhere along the line, because Calgary doesn't really seem to have a spot for him right now other than in St. John. And I think Giguère's looking more towards the future, but he better stick here with the present. Was
it a lack of steam more than anything? Like, Giguère hadn't seen action. He was called up to Calgary. He was sitting on the bench up there. Freddie Brathwaite came down here, played just outstanding when they went on that road trip the weekend before. Brathwaite's playing extremely well. They've finally hauled Grant Fuhr out between the pipes, let Freddie come in, and he's playing well. They had a big win against Detroit over the weekend. So somewhere down the road, like you said, there might be a spot for Giguère to slide in there somewhere, because, I mean, let's face it, Grant Fuhr is 36 years old, certainly not living up to the expectations that Calgary had hoped for him coming into the season. So Giguère might just have to sit tight, maybe one more season, and then he might get the call up next year.
I think they should have left Brathwaite in Calgary and sent Fuhr down for a reconditioning stint for about 2 weeks, I think is what
Not for the kind of money they're paying him.
Well, I'm sorry, but it's either that or it's a waste of their dollar, and right now it's looking like a waste of their dollar. They're not looking like geniuses right now. Montreal looked like geniuses when they brought Moog up, but I don't think Calgary's not looking too good right now as far as goaltending. But like you say, Giguère maybe just needs to get a few games in Calgary, get his confidence boosted up a little bit. But down here, he just didn't be able to do it. And with St. Louis out of the lineup for those 2 games too, that didn't help a whole lot of things.
No, that didn't help. But I mean, you look at the other offensive weapons that the Flames have. I mean, you know, St. Louis leading the league in points. I mean, no question about it. I mean, he's a big gap when you lose him from the lineup. But the thing is he going to get the playing time that he deserves in Calgary, or are they going to stick him on a 4th line somewhere and say, well, he really didn't work out, so they ship him back here? I think what Calgary has to do is make sure that he gets on a line with Stillman, maybe on that front line. Doesn't have to play there, you know, for 20, 26 minutes a game. Get him out there a couple of shifts. Let him show the speed that he's got. Let him display some of the skills that we all know that he has. And then maybe there's a chance that the offensive struggles that Calgary's been going through, maybe this is a chance where St. Louis can break through. Do you think that, you know, the brain trust up there might finally see this happen, or?
Well, the key thing there was brain. I hate to be crapping on
Man, you
Calgary.
haven't been back in a month and you're already just right off the top.
I'm wired up for some other stuff here later on in the show, but this is just a warm-up. But I think they should stick him on, if not the 1st line, the 2nd line, and because, I mean, you can't put him on the 3rd line. 3rd line most times is your banging and crashing line. He's not a banging crasher. He's a playmaker. He's a goal scorer. they have to use him for that purpose and that purpose alone, because that's what he's done in St. John. That's what he's done all his career.
Sure.
I mean, he's a guy that he knows where the net is. He knows where to put it. And when he was on the line with Tkachuk and
Eglin?
no, not Eglin. I can't think of it right now. But anyway, I mean, Tkachuk is the next leading goal scorer on the team, so they were a good line down here. So I think maybe they should be using them maybe up top, or they got to do something with him. They can't put him on a third or fourth line and just leave him sitting there, because it's a waste of talent.
Yeah, it's good to see Don McKelly getting some quality ice time up in Calgary. He's had a couple assists over the past couple of games. Make mention as well that Ladislav Cohn, of course, former St. John Flame, playing now with the Anaheim Mighty Ducks, had a winning goal last week in overtime for the Ducks to pull a win out for them. So good to see Laddie playing well and getting some quality ice time on the front line. We should mention that with Korea. And, of course, Solani's future is kind of up in the air. He's got some charges against him back in his homeland in Finland, so we'll wait and see how that plays out. We've got some tape we'll go to. Saturday, the 5-4 overtime loss. Rick Vide, the head coach of the St. John Flames, had some comments to make after the game. Not too pleased with his goaltending, to say the least. Aaron Kennedy will have the play-by-play on the highlights from that game. And as well, AHL President Dave Andrews was in town on Friday, last Friday, and he had some comments to make about the league and what direction the AHL is heading in over the next little while. So we'll go to the tape right now.
Or it may very well have been Brett McLean with his first AHL goal. Minute 25 in the power play. Ran on the right goal line in front. Ferguson, wrist shot, scores! Power play goal for the Ducks. The game is tied at 1. Wisniewski has it and he'll clear. Just onside is Nighty. Nighty on a breakaway shot, scores! Short-handed goal for Shane Nighty, the first of the season for Cincinnati, and the Ducks lead 2-1. Looking in front. Sneaking in was Petrovicki. He can't get it to him. Now Graton skating with it on the right side. Down low for Roach. Roach tries to stuff it in and scores! Very little daylight on the short side. Somehow Dave Roach is able to stuff it past Miller, his 7th of the season. Power play goal, 2-2. Wren controlling. Wren directing traffic, now gives it to Banham. Banham at the top of the left circle. Moving in for Wren at the side of the net. Scores! That was a very peculiar play because Bob Wren had the puck on the half boards. Wren then yelled at Banham, who was down on the goal line, and said, change positions. Wren went to where Banham was. Banham went to where Wren was and gave him the puck. Wren went to the front of the net. Banham gives it back to him, and he scores. Giguère out behind the net. Rocky Thompson got whacked away from the play by Phil O'Dette, and Thompson is down, writhing in pain. Chris Clark with his shot, and Miller got a piece of it. Play continues. Face-off is to the left of Aaron Miller. McLean wins the draw. McLean skates after the puck into the corner, cuts in behind the net, steps in front, backhand, scores! Brett McLean thought the first one was so nice, he thought he'd score twice, and this game is tied at 3. And it's Ferguson back behind his own net. Bringing it right up the middle to center. Ferguson fires it ahead for LaPlante, and behind the defense, LaPlante shot, scores! Ducks lead 4-3, their 3rd power play goal of the game. Back after it is Wallen. Charron. Solid hit in the corner. Sorokin keeps it in. Graton now down low. Charron is in there deep. Giguère looking for a signal from the bench. 67 seconds left. But the puck bounces out to center. Graton has it with a minute to play. He'll shoot it in. But Charron wasn't out of the zone, and it's an offside. Miller suffered through a horrendous season last year with Adirondack and looking for his first win with the Ducks. The Flames win the faceoff. They fire it in. Giguère heads to the bench. The extra skater is Bégin. Roach in the corner for Tkachuk. Back to Roach. He'll sweep it in behind the goal. Nighty skates after it. Bégin does as well. He ties up Nighty. The puck comes to the point. Scoville scores! Steve Bégin outraced Nighty to the puck along the wall. The Ducks couldn't get it out, and Scoville blasts one that I believe went off the iron and past Aaron Miller. And back the other way hustles Wren down the left wing. Wren cuts to the middle, gets around Scoville. Wren moving in, then forced in behind the net by Scoville. Petrovicki comes up with the puck. Petrovicki loses it, and the Ducks score! This game is is over as Darryl LaPlante scores a cheap one, and Cincinnati wins it 5-4.
5-4 loss, certainly, but if I look back to anything, 5-on-3 power play, they get a shorthanded goal and the minor expires. Do you look at that as the turning point? Could you have buried them there and should have?
Well, I mean, yeah, perhaps we could have. You just never know. I mean, hindsight's 20/20, and you could say that was a turning point or any other time in the game. But I thought we played much better tonight. I mean, we gave up 13 scoring chances. That's all. I mean, it doesn't, we've got to get better goaltending, and I'm not blaming our goaltending or saying they lost it for us, but 5 goals on 12 or 13 scoring chances is just perhaps not good enough, and we're just going to have to work on that. And I thought as a team we played decent, certainly better than last night.
With the lack now of a natural goal scorer, you get some plumbers that came through tonight. Bejan 3 assists and McLean with 2 goals. But does all of a sudden this team now have to become an industrious team instead of perhaps a highly skilled team?
Well, we just have to play smart. And I mean, even before, even with Martin, a marquee goal scorer, we have to play smart hockey. We can't run and gun with anybody, really. We've got to play good defense. But, I like our team still right now. I mean, we could use maybe a goal scorer. Everybody can. But on any given night, we have to have unexpected sources come up for us. And like tonight with McLean and with Beijing, and some other night we'll have to have somebody else come to the forefront and help us out. We're going to need that every night now, and then we're going to, and more. I mean, we're going to have to get our goaltending's going to have to get better each and every night, and we're going to have to get better keeping. Like I said, I thought we played very well. Not very well, but I mean, when you give up 12 or 13 scoring chances, I think that's a pretty good game.
I think Rick hit it right on the head there where he said giving up those scoring chances. A couple of times we were watching the tape here and we both cried out, where's the defense? You know what I mean? And that's what it boils down to. Like we said when we started the show, the offense is there. You've got the tools. The defense, night to night, it seems to be, a shoot and guess thing. And the goaltending, definitely. Calgary, so many high aspirations for Giguère to play well down here. They keep saying that they want him to play a full season down here, sharpen up his tools, and then they want him to make the jump up there. And like we said earlier, Grant Fuhrer, can't hold on to the water wagon for too much longer. It would seem that the logical thing would be Freddie Brathwaite is going to be the #1 goaltender. Giguère's got a prime opportunity to jump into that backup role, but whether or not he's ready for it, that appears to be the big hangover question right now.
Well, I don't know what more you can say. Rick Vye pretty well summed it all up. Basically, there's no defense in this team at all. Mm-hmm. I mean, you got Darryl Scoville, which is your offensive defenseman. I mean, he's scoring a lot of goals as of late, and he is playing a pretty good defensive role. You got Charron there, game to game. You don't know which guy's coming out, really, and I don't know if that's a problem that he's fighting or if it's a problem with the coaching or what it might be, but it just seems like he's picking and choosing what game he's going to come out and play, and hopefully it's a big game against Quebec this weekend, and they need all 18, 16 guys, whatever they're going to dress for that game. They need all of them in that game, and that's when Giguère's got to be his finest, because those are 4-point games when you're playing against your own division.
Absolutely. Good to see Brent McLean gets his first goal of the season, actually 2 goals on the night, so it's good to see him breaking through. Like we said, the offense appears to be there, but the defense and the goaltending, questionable at this point. Don't forget the Flames' next action. They'll be on the road Wednesday night in Providence, and don't forget the game will be on TVNB. Local blackout will be in effect as they take on the Quebec Citadels this coming Saturday night at Harbor Station. Game time start, of course, is 7 o'clock. We'll flip over to junior hockey now, a little closer to your heart. You guys had a couple of games over the weekend. Friday night, a real rough game up in Rishabukto and a tough loss, 14-4. Come back home, technically home, pretty close to home.
Basically.
You come to the LBR and take on St. John and 5-3 wins. So 500 weekend, 2-2 on the season. Give us your overview on Friday night's game and that 14-4 loss. Well,
an expansion team in the league, you can't expect much more. I mean, 500 hockey, 4 games in the season. There's only 22 games in the season altogether. So, you're almost a quarter of your way through or a seventh of your way through your season, really. Sure. So it's Merle and Ronnie are really happy with the result. They didn't like the result Friday night. It looked bad. It was embarrassing. But once again, though, Rishabukto had the game in their pocket, and they just decided to fill the net. And I thought that was a little... I didn't like that at all. They went out to try to start picking fights with some of our smaller guys, and I don't know. I just don't like that kind of hockey personally. I think they should have practiced some of their systems, and don't embarrass us. I mean, we're embarrassed enough by 7-4 or 9-4. I mean,
Sure.
That's enough right there. I mean, you don't have to start filling the net, but our smaller guys got intimidated by the big Rishabukto team, and I think their average height in that team must be about 6'1" or so. I think so.
You were telling me they are a big team.
They're probably maybe the biggest team in the league, and they're quite intimidating for the smaller guys. But a couple of our smaller guys didn't back down. One of them roughed up our goaltender, and he jumped him, and he did all right. But
well, you start fooling around with the goaltender. I mean,
well, the goaltender on our team's the biggest guy there, so I think they should have let him fend for himself.
There you go.
But nonetheless, you can't let anybody rough up your goaltender.
Sure.
And but Saturday night we come back, and it's nice to get the win because we're, as everybody knows in the paper, the two owners and coaches, I guess you could say, of both teams have been kind of jawing one another. There's been fines involved with player tampering and this and that, and wanting releases from the other team, and the other team's not going to release these certain players, and unfortunately they're the players that are hurting. They got to think about that. The league tried to step in and help things out because there was a technicality that anybody under the age of 18 is not legally, under the age, 18 is not allowed to sign a card without their parent's signature on it.
Sure.
And I think now the association in Brunswick is really looking at that now, and they're going to start hauling back cards or giving cards back out and saying, listen, little Johnny's 14 years old. That's a binding contract that he just signed.
Exactly.
You have to have a guardian or an adult to sign that for them. So.
Well, at that age, I mean,
Well, it is a contract. You're signing a playing card, and that's a contract to play for a certain team.
Sure.
And but 5-3 win. I mean, we've won 2 games against Johnny and or the St. Thomas Construction, I guess. But it's been bragging rights, and Merle's quite happy with the result.
No, so far 2-0, not a bad way to go. We had a chance to take our TVNB cameras down to the LBR on Saturday night for that game. The Sussex Western Stars beat the St. John Thomas Construction. That's it. They haven't come up with a name yet. Bruce said they're going to try over the next couple of weeks. And they had a chance to take our cameras down there and do some interviews with a couple of the St. John players, Chris Green, Bobby Allen, who is not a player, who is just working with the team, and Russell Press, who is the head coach for St. John. Here's what they had to say.
Hey, how are you enjoying the season so far to this point?
Oh, geez, I think the season's going just great. Considering the circumstances, we got a real short bench, a small team. We got some injuries right now, a couple scratches. I think we're doing just fine. We're going to come around there.
Great. Do you have any personal goals this year for your season?
I think it's team first all the way. I mean, I don't mind scoring a few points, but it's team first, and I'll do whatever it takes for the team to win, you know what I mean?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
With the players we have here now, what are your thoughts on the rest of the year? How far can this team go?
Oh, this team's going to pull together real quick. You're going to see a big turnaround. I think this team's clicking real well. All the lines are clicking real good. I think this team's going to come right around. You'll see right around Christmas. Big difference.
Bobby Allen, what do you think of the performance of the team so far this year?
5th game into the season tonight there, Bruce, against Sussex. We played 4 games, really close hockey. A couple of breaks here and there. We should be about 2-2 right now going into Saturday night's game.
The team's had quite a few injuries so far. Can you tell us about those?
Yeah, we lost a defenseman from last year. Corey Norris had his jaw broken a week ago against Rishabukto. We've got a couple of head injuries, concussions, so we got a couple of affiliates coming up tonight. So that really hurt you there, Bruce.
What do you think the long-term goals of this team are this year? Do you think this team can pull together and do something this year in the playoffs?
Yeah, I certainly think so. By Christmas time, I think we'll be playing 500 hockey. We certainly have the talent there with young Jamie King, Chris Green. Yeah, we'll be 500 hockey Christmas time.
Okay, Russell, can you share with the fans your background in hockey and what kind of coaching experience you have?
Sure, I have pretty extensive playing experience. Played all through the junior ranks from junior C, starting at 14, going up through B and major junior in the Sioux, and tier 2 in Pembroke. 3 years of university hockey, and then we went to over and tried pro over in Europe for a couple of years. Coaching experience, I coached the junior level in Sweden for the 2 years I was there, and a number of hockey schools and skating instructions throughout the country.
Great. What are your thoughts on the performance of the team so far this year? It's still early, but if you can give us your thoughts on that?
Scores aren't indicative of what's happened with this club. Every game they've given at least 100%, about 75% of the time. If we could top that up to 100%, 85% of the time, I think we would be sitting pretty right now. use the term quite a bit that we're sitting on a bubble, waiting for the bubble to burst, and I'm hoping tonight's the night that it finally does so.
What are your goals for this team for the rest of the year?
Number one goal, it's been from the get-go when they asked me to take this team, was to make sure these guys learn something. And I think they're learning something each practice and each game. I am. My goals for the team, we'll make the playoffs, and from there we want to carry on a couple upsets. And
Shift into overdrive with Automotive Classics. Shift, New Brunswick's only car show, gets a green light on performance. Thursdays at 10 or Saturdays at 5:30 on TVNB. Brought to you in part by UAP Napa.
And welcome back into the second half of Time Out here on TVNB. Nice to have you tuned in on this Monday evening. Jim Hennessy alongside Barry Johnston. And we thank Bruce McDonald before we went to break. He did the interviews there with Russell Press, Bobby Allen, and Chris Green. Thank you very much, Bruce. We appreciate your effort. And 2-2, Sussex Western Stars. When's the next game coming up?
This Sunday afternoon in Sussex against Woodstock.
How the crowd's been?
We had a good home opener. We had about 400 or 500, and we do have a little promotion in between periods, similar to what the Flames do. It's chuck a puck, but you don't get $250 for it. You get depending on who sponsors the game. But the last one was a 6-foot party sub, and that was quite a fan favorite, watching all those pucks go out there.
Oh, excellent.
So it's nice. It's a small community. They come together and support the team, and of course with Ronnie Hatfield working in there, owns a business there. He gets the community involved quite a bit to help out with the team and get some attendance in there. Yeah, we should also mention, I'm not trying to be dirty here, but Russ Press was not coaching that game because he's sitting out a suspension, and he's waiting the result of how many games he's going to get for his actions.
Bruce had mentioned that when he was sitting in the chair last week, so
yeah,
we'll keep you posted on that and see how many games Russell does get. Flip over to the NHL real quick, and being a Habs fan, it's been a painful season. We're not even at the halfway mark yet. Brian Savage is the latest victim of the injury bug. Saku Koivu, of course, we know, who is out now for at least 3 months. They're hoping it's only going to be 3 months. Not that he was contributing too much, so not that big of a loss. But Brian Savage, leading the team in points, just absolutely gets hammered on Saturday night, crossing across the blue line, had his head down, was winding up to take a shot. He did get the shot off, but at the same time got hammered. He's got a fractured disc in his neck. They say he could be out for at least the end of January. Now, they're being optimistic when they say that. You know more about that injury than I would.
I'd say he might be back for the start of the 2000-2001 season. That's
what
something
I
you don't want to
too.
fool around with.
Yeah.
If it's just a simple clean fracture or just a hairline fracture, yeah, you could see him back in January. But not knowing the exact circumstances of it, not seeing X-rays and the whole 9 yards, it sounds like January is very optimistic. That's I can't see that. I mean, he'd be very timid out there. He'll have to be suited up with some good stuff. But I went to buy some towels for the team the other day, and I couldn't find any. They said they went to all the Montreal Canadiens fans.
I know. I've gone through a couple ever since the season started. It's sad to see because, I mean, you see the lineup, and, I mean, how they got that win in L.A., I don't know. They won.
Well, especially against the Kings.
Well, yeah, they won the game 5-3. Luc Robitaille was out of the lineup for the Kings, so that maybe was one good saving grace for all us Montreal Canadian fans this year. But the chances of making the playoffs, I mean, you have to be realistic. They've just got a decimated lineup. Jeff Hackett, as you like to say, facing more rubber than a dead skunk out on Highway 7. I don't know how much longer he can, Jose Theodore's his backup. He's getting some ice time, but Montreal fans got to sit tight because they've got no draft picks. It gets back to you got to go to the front office. I think Ray Jeannot's got to go. He's made more bad trades than, a person with a pocket full of Pokemon cards. I don't know. He's terrible. He's got to go. He's made so many deals where you see players now, they're out there in the league and, they're progressing and playing on a good line and scoring lots of goals. And Montreal's struggling hard right now. You just hate to see it.
Well, I think a lot of Montreal fans should hop on the highway and go to the 401 and go up to Toronto, I think, and at least support one winning Canadian team anyway. And, I mean, Edmonton's not looking too bad either, but Montreal, I really don't know what's going to happen there. I mean, they've depleted the AHL lineup. I mean, that's a skeleton crew there. I think they've gone to their East Coast affiliate now to bring up a lot of players there.
Yeah.
So it's not looking good. It's looking good for the Flames this weekend, obviously, but Montreal, I really don't know. I mean, Réjean Houle and Coates are kind of looking like twin brothers right now.
The NHL got boosted up to 30 teams. The Minnesota Wild will be joining the league next year. I don't know if you got a chance to see the jerseys or not on Saturday. They showed them on Coach's Corner. They say it's a bear, okay? The jersey's white on the body, green and red on the sleeves. They say it's a bear. It's got pine trees in the background, the moon, a couple of stars shooting down. It looks like a rat is what it looks like. It looks like a big, giant rat. And I'm not taking a shot at any of the Minnesota fans out there, but that's exactly what it looks like. Don Cherry was asked, because he is, with those great suits he wears, kind of the connoisseur of dressing, and McLean just said real quick in passing, what do you think of it? Yeah, it'll do. And he just kind of threw it over to the side.
Well, marketing nowadays with teams is to get a flashy logo. The kids want to wear the apparel and the hats, the jerseys, the jackets, the T-shirts. And that's part of the marketing plan. And the Anaheim Mighty Ducks started that when they brought out the duck.
Sure.
You know, the big fighting duck coming out of, I don't know what it is he's coming out of.
Especially after the movie, with Disney putting out the movie. I mean,
so that's what a lot of teams are doing now. They're getting this big flashy logo and kind of really supporting, trying to get a lot more support financially for the team, because some of those concession stands bring in a lot of money to help out the teams.
We're almost out of time. You wanted to do a beef. You got any beefs this week?
Oh, I got a beef, but we don't have time to get into it right now. But I'll just start it. I'm thinking if referees in this province, and especially in this province, I've been around as far as Ontario to watch hockey, and this province is about the worst as far as refereeing goes. Chuck McTagg, if you want some respect for your referees, start getting them to do their job, because when we were Rishabukto, that guy was brutal.
Absolutely. Chuck was up doing the game.
No, Chuck wasn't up in Rishabukto, but the guy in Rishabukto doing it. I mean, around the province, no wonder kids get frustrated and want to punch at the referees. But that doesn't excuse the kid in Sussex for his actions. I mean, obviously there is something else more to it than that. But if referees want more respect, they better start showing some.
Wow. Got that off your chest? You feel better now?
I feel better now.
Thanks for coming in, man. I appreciate the time.
Keep it going.
There you go. We'll talk to you again next Monday at 7 o'clock. Of course, Wayne Gretzky, we said we were going to talk about him. What else can you say about the great one? Over 60 records in the NHL. He'll be inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame tonight, along with referee Andy Van Helleman. The ceremonies are just about set to get underway on another channel. Can't mention it on the air, but if you want to check it out, just pick up the remote, flip around. I'm sure you'll pick up somebody ranting and raving about Gretzky going into the Hockey Hall of Fame tonight. The great one. That's why they call him that, and that's why he didn't have to wait 3 years to get into the shrine. Thank you very much for tuning in. Hope you enjoy this great weather, and we certainly hope it lasts. Barry, thanks for coming in, and we'll talk to you again next Monday at 7 o'clock. Have a great week.